Hi, I'm Maddie Dines, and I went to the World Food Prize with VT Cows and with the Gap Report, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. The whole premise of the World Food Prize, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Norman Borlaug. So he's the father of the Green Revolution. He's the one who spearheaded the whole improved seeds movement. This was back in the 1970s. A lot of what he did is still being used today. He's the one who spearheaded the whole breeding improvement programs. So he literally saved billions of lives because of he's smart and can do agriculture better than anybody else. So he has, it's called the Borlaug Dialogue, so it's a convention where a bunch of people from around the world come together and talk about different agricultural topics. We had a board, or a panel discussion on, with the for-profit companies, the big agricultural companies like Corteva, Syngenta, Bayer, Crop Science, other ones. And then they also had a bunch of like NGO leaders and program developers come together and talk about how we can better serve the growing community for food. And so the Gap Report was part of that because we launched our program there. The 5 main topics that we talked about this year in the report is how by accelerating productivity growth and small and medium scale livestock production we can achieve global nutrition and environmental goals. Environmental sustainability initiatives should prioritize regions experience rapid population growth, so that's basically going to be in sub-Saharan Africa and in Southeast Asia. So we need to prioritize our development initiatives in those areas because those are the areas that are going to need it the most. So we are not growing our agricultural capacities at a rate that is going to be sustainable. So the economics term is total factor productivity, and we are growing at a 1.63% expansion rate, whereas we need to actually grow at 1.73. The reality is today we produce enough food to feed everyone in the world, and we produce enough food to feed 9 or 10 billion people. It's just we have about 40% of our production wasted every year through food waste, but also just production, harvest losses. You'll see a lot of instances where in India, where you have to transport mangoes from the coast into the country, they lose 40% of the truck because it just gets crushed in transit. So you have things like that so that's infrastructure and capacity building there, but there's also Americans waste how much food every year? I think it's 40% of our food, we just waste that. So it's, push and pull, you have to give some, you have to take some, but you have to we need to increase production because we're not just going to get our waste to zero. That's just not possible. So the whole idea of this World Food Prize was, it was Pax Agricultura, which is in Latin, it means peace through agriculture. So this one was more specifically about enhancing stability in regions through agricultural production. So keeping hunger to a minimum, which is something that we have problems with when you have political conflict and climate shocks is you can't produce food and you have to be able to be resilient in those